All right, welcome everybody. We are live at the Sabre office in Garden City, New York. I have my man Jay Siano here on today's Past the 40.
What up?
What's going on, Jay? How we doing today?
We're doing good, man. Off to a good start. A little hectic this morning. I was taking my youngest son to school, which was planned because my wife had a meeting this morning, and unfortunately, my older son missed the bus. Which was the first time ever. So I've had a pretty hectic morning so far.
Your boys are a little older than mine, so I haven't gotten to the bus part of life yet. How old are your boys?
Just turned 6 and will be 3 in December.
Are you ready for 40 questions today?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Feeling good? So the first question is actually related to your youngest son.
Okay.
I need some advice from you.
Yes.
I see him on social media all the time, rapping to hip hop, dancing, and how do I get my boys to do that? Because right now with my 3-year-old, I'm like, dude, you gotta check out this Nas song. He's like, F you, Dad, wheels on the bus now. Or I'm like, check out new Wu-Tang. He's like, get out of here, BINGO right now, dude. So
yeah.
What's the trick?
Yeah, so you know what? The trick is DNA. It's like, there is
I thought I had that.
You do, but every kid is so different, and my will, I'll actually name him now to make it easier, but so my older son, Jax, is super bright. He started reading at like 2 practically, and totally into books, not into sports. And Jace, my little guy who you're asking about, is like just super into music, and I obviously love music, and was a DJ and so on and so forth. Did a little stint rapping and whatnot, and you can't really. It's they're just either born with it or they're not. It just happens. So I'm actually now trying to actually take that to the next level with him. So I met with somebody who runs a recording studio, and typically they don't allow kids to come in until they're like 4 or 5.
Right.
Going to make an exception for my Jace, and we're going to go in there, in the next few weeks and get them started.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man, you can't really force it. They either enjoy it or they don't, and they go through phases. Like, sure. This kid could like be amazing at music now, and totally, go a different direction.
So there's still hope for my 9-month-old.
There's a lot of hope. Yeah, there's a lot of hope, but you can't really force it.
I've noticed that as you take a sip of your iced coffee, you consume a lot of caffeine. What's the deal with that?
What's the deal with that? I start my days pretty early and I end them pretty late, and they're back to back, Gary V style, if you will, which I'm sure will come up in the future, but. Caffeine kind of keeps me going. This is actually my second venti iced coffee today. But I worked out this morning at like 7 a.m. and I need coffee before I can do anything in the morning.
So I don't know much about coffee. I've actually never had a cup of coffee in my life.
Really?
But I'm guessing that at 10:45 in the morning, 2 of those things is probably not ideal.
Probably not, but it's funny because I look at it as if coffee to me is like water, which is like, I'm not so proud of that, but it's just a reality.
Yeah.
So if I'm not drinking like double espressos or like cafe Americanos, I also, by the way, represent Starbucks coffee and have for the last 13 years. So, they're inbred in the fabric of my life.
Of course.
And, obviously, if I'm drinking straight iced coffee as opposed to, like I said, a cafe Americano or something that's a lot stronger,
yeah.
I feel like I could drink it all
like it's
day.
nothing.
Yeah, like it's
right.
nothing. But I don't recommend it for you.
I'm just looking out for you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get a little more serious.
Let's do it.
If you were giving a TED talk, what would the topic be?
I would have to say self-improvement. I'm really about creating the best version of myself, and I've focused more on that, I would say, in the last 2 years, really. I mean, not to say that I wasn't always focused on trying to be the best version of myself, but I've taken it to a different level, which is not always easy, and for me it's a complete 360, about your mind, body, and soul, obviously. So, I work out 6 to 7 days a week, constantly reading. I'm a student of so many different things, and I would just say sounds cheesy and cliche, but the reality is, and I firmly believe that you could be anything you want to be, and the best way to do that is to watch other people that you admire, take bits and pieces from them, and adopt them. Personally, and I think I've done that, throughout my career, and just generally in life, in family, in all aspects of my career. So it would be, going from a rough around the edges kid doing all types of stuff, good and bad, to a very responsible, hardworking person, essentially. So
almost like a grown-up.
Almost. I'm new to this adulting thing. Yeah, I'm trying.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you were a grown-up?
When I was really young, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Like George Costanza?
Yeah, there you go. So I always was fascinated with anything having to do with the ocean, and I went to marine biology school. A camp, I should say, not school. And it's funny, my sister, I was at her house on Saturday, and she handed me a big plaque of a picture of me in Newsday from 1988, where I was in marine biology, like, camp or something, and I was picking up, like, a crab at the beach, and they, like, interviewed me about it. So that was the first thing. And then from there, I evolved into wanting to be a professional snowboarder. I also went to snowboard camp in Mount Hood, Oregon, and I got injured, and that kind of put that to bed.
Snowboarding is something that's come up a number of times on the Past the 40 series that we're doing, and it's usually in the question of what is something that you've tried that you'll never try again.
Mm-hmm.
Why does everybody get so banged up snowboarding? I'm glad I never stepped to that.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm actually surprised, because most people I know really enjoy snowboarding and and do it as frequently as they can. I was injured on a trampoline practicing snowboarding, so I wasn't actually injured, on a mountain snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I haven't really heard personally of many snowboarding injuries that would cause people not to want to do it again.
Right.
But I guess that's not the case with people that you're interviewing.
Yeah. What's something that you're curious about these days?
I'm curious. Again, trying not to be generic here with my answers, but I'm curious about where the world's going. The short answer is I'm curious about everything, and that's why my mind never stops, and I don't sleep much, and I drink a lot of coffee. Maybe the coffee's why I don't sleep much.
Chicken and the egg?
The chicken or the egg. So I am just curious about... I'm in the retail real estate business, and the world is changing in a way that it has not changed before the internet, so to speak, right? So I'm fascinated with people's behavior kind of pre and post internet. So, and how, the largest hotel company in the world doesn't own one property. The largest taxi company in the world doesn't own one car. Mm-hmm. So, I love studying disruptors to each market. And I'm just really curious to see the impact that all these things are going to have on every industry and jobs, and the fact that my kids and your kids may never have driver's licenses because there will be self-driving cars, and real estate development's going to change drastically because they don't have to take into consideration cars, parking ratios, things of that nature. So I feel like we're evolving at such a faster pace today. Mm-hmm. For better or worse.
For sure. In running your own business, is there a business person, a business leader out there that inspires you, or that you would try to emulate more than others?
Yeah, I mean, any successful real estate person I admire, because it's a very difficult industry. Clearly it's a little different to just be a successful real estate broker than actually owning a brokerage company and starting a company, more or less from scratch. So I would have to say that, I started in the industry working for a living legend, an icon, Wilbur Breslin. So, I've had the good fortune of spending a lot of time with him and him mentoring me in a lot of ways. His tireless work ethic and the just the patience. So I would say Wilbur Breslin. There are many others that I study that are outside of the real estate field, and I feel like I can learn a lot from.
Mm-hmm. When was the last time that you cried?
So that's a tough one, and I told you why previously.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that it was. I was at my beach club in Atlantic Beach over the summer, and I was actually watching the kids because my wife and her friends were at a charity event. And my youngest son, Jace, is sitting on my lap, and he grabbed something off the table that was in front of him. We were at somebody else's cabana at the beach club, and he put it in his mouth, and he was chewing it, and it was like a mixed dish of nuts or something, and all of a sudden, within like 15 seconds, he was like just extremely sick. And he'd been tested for food allergies and everything
Mm-hmm.
else, and nothing came back positive, and we had to rush him to the hospital. The whole thing. Turns out he does have a tree nut allergy,
Okay.
and his body rejected it very quickly. But the whole thing was super traumatic,
Yeah.
and the fact that you're kind of helpless in the moment and just hoping he's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I might have shed a tear.
I mean, well worth it.
Yeah.
When what's a skill that you want to acquire in the next 40 years of life?
I actually, probably so many, but I don't know that I'll act like. I would love to learn how to fly a plane, something like that. But the reality is, my wife probably wouldn't allow that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a risk taker. I love motorcycles, cars. I grew up, in a family that was in the car business and the motorcycle business, so that makes a lot of sense. So I would have to say, and actually my father's a pilot, so that makes sense too. So I would have to say flying a plane.
That was one of the things I did on my 40 list this year.
You did?
I did.
You flew a plane?
I flew a plane. I flew a plane. I didn't just one time with
with a
basically it was me and some pilot in this tiny little plane, and we went up together, and I got to drive it a little bit.
Like a little Cessna?
Yeah,
like
exactly, Cessna. You're not following the B40 group, I guess, dude. It's it. I got pictures and everything in there.
I follow, but I missed that.
Of course. It was cool, and I think like an old friend's brother like took lessons a while ago, and like he is a pilot, and like he can take a plane from here to like Martha's Vineyard if he wants to. Like I don't think that the process is not that intense or that difficult or that lengthy even to like get there, which is kind of scary thinking about it, that anyone can kind of take a few lessons and start flying people around.
It is. I mean, I have a client and have had clients over the years that have their own planes, and will literally speak in the morning, and they'll be like, I'll fly in, and I'll hop in my car at Republic Airport and see you in a few. I mean, just the it's crazy concept.
Let's say you have to go on a road trip from New York to North Kakalaka. You have to bring 3 people. Who are they going to be, and they can't be family members?
And do they have to be living?
That's you can interpret this question
mean,
however you'd like.
Yeah. So I listen. I've listened to.
I would say most people have said people who are living.
Okay. So I would have to say, I think Justin Timberlake might be one of the coolest people on the planet. I've actually met him, but I met him like in a nightclub, with friends. That actually a friend who was his stylist at the time, and based on how much I like music and how influential he's been, in the last many years, and how he transitioned, in so many ways into acting, and he's got it all, so to speak. So I think it would be super interesting to spend some time with him. I think we have similar styles in a lot of ways and whatnot. So I think that would be a lot of fun. from there, I want to say Gary V because I think that we would have a great jam session essentially if we were together on a car ride. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure he could say anything at this point that I don't know. So it's probably a waste of a seat. No offense, Gary.
Also, tight quarters to have him in your head for I don't know, a 10-hour trip.
Yeah, it might get like a little too intense.
I could see Justin Timberlake being like, "God, shut the F up already, man. I want to talk here."
You're absolutely right about that. I would say Mark Zuckerberg. Zucks, I think would be he's changed the world in so many ways, and he's super bright. And I think if I'm going to take a car ride, I want to be educated, along the way, and get some insights into different things. There are many musicians I could list, but I think is that 2 or 3?
Well, it depends if you're bringing Gary or not.
Yeah,
we got Justin and. He's Mark Zuckerberg before you leave. He's Zucks by the end of the trip.
He's Zucks by the end of the trip. Staying with that theme, I think I don't want to go Tony Robbins because that could be intense too. But that's super intense. Yeah. But I think like a Mark Cuban.
Okay.
Because I can learn a lot from him as well. Tough question.
Fill in the blank here. I'm not as blank as I used to be.
Tolerable, meaning tolerable, tolerant.
Right. I was gonna say that's a little
yeah. Well, it depends who you ask.
Right. I had a follow up ready there. I was gonna let you finish your thought.
I would say I don't have the things just irritate me a lot sooner today. And I think that it's interesting because that has to do with like the 40 transition for me to 40.
Not as much patience.
In a lot of ways, I am patient. In business, I'm super patient. I play the long game. But in life, I just can't tolerate people that I can't tolerate the same way I used to, so to speak. So I just I don't have as much patience for morons. Or bullshit.
Well, you don't have room for them in your mental space because you're family and business and busy and whatever it may be.
Correct. So I think it's important to weed through all of that, and I do it a lot quicker than I used to. So that's my answer.
All right. Can you confirm something for me? Did I recently see you do a full split on video?
You did. I'm known for my splits.
Okay, as you should be. If that was a thing that that I could do, I would want to be known for that as well.
Yeah. So it's typically not a party until I've broken out the split.
Fair.
And that's my execution move for dance battling. So it's very
that's
difficult.
That's a knockout punch.
It's it. I could be losing a dance battle,
yeah.
and once I break out the split, it's a wrap.
Did you stretch before that split?
No, I'm
you just go right into it?
Super flexible.
Just like naturally, or like did you take Kung Fu, Taekwondo growing up or anything like that like worked on?
No, I'm just naturally flexible. Yeah, always have been. And actually my children are. It's interesting, but and my older son Jax is in Taekwondo now and whatnot, and it's funny because like he broke out a split a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, we were just we're a musical family, and music's always on of all different genres, and we just kind of while out in the living room, which is awesome. And Jax, I turn around, he's in a full split. And
nice.
It goes back to that DNA thing.
For sure. If you could achieve absolute success in only one area of your life, what would you want that area to be?
It has to be family. Honestly, nothing else matters when you get down to it. So I firmly believe that, before you have a family, before you have kids, your life is just completely different than after. I mean, that goes without saying. You don't know, obviously, what that means until you're in that position. But all the other things come and go. materialism is bullshit. Business is extremely important to me, but I think it comes very natural to me in a lot of ways, and I think that it's way more important to me that I'm successful in my family life.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
You know what, man? To be honest, I haven't had too many jobs, but I would say, I detailed cars for a while. But at the time, it was kind of cool because we could hang out, do bad things, and focus on cleaning cars.
I'm guessing that was a while ago. High school, college years.
Yeah. Like exactly. And I mean, looking back on it, it's not the best job, but I haven't had too many. So I think that probably would be my answer.
That's a good thing if your worst job was still pretty decent.
Yeah.
If you could have directed one film in history, which movie would it have been?
That's a super tough question.
A lot of good answers here.
There's a lot of good answers. There's going to be a long pause on this one. Because my mind's going so many different directions. Of
course. And your first thought might not be the one that you would land on if you had a week to think about it. So
clearly.
So we won't hold you to it.
Yeah. So you know what? I kind of want to say the movie Kids. Because at that time in my life when it came out, it felt so real. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's just the culture of New York City and what goes on, whether parents realize it or not, and the influence that the street and hip hop and skating and all those other things, which are all things that have been near and dear to me in my life. I feel like that's just a movie that really resonated with me, and that's my answer. But I have several others.
I love that answer, though, because I think it's very easy to quickly go to, Godfather or something of that ilk of legendary status. But I like that you pulled something that has some New York roots and is definitely close to our childhood.
Yes.
For your last meal, what are you going to eat?
My last meal, I'm going to eat chicken parm.
From any specific chicken parm? And is it chicken parm hero or chicken parm dish? Does it come with a side of pasta?
Well, if it's my last meal, I don't need to be concerned about the caloric intake.
Correct. No holds barred.
Yeah, so I'm going to go, I think I'm going to, half of it's going to be on a hero and the other half is going to be on a plate.
Great.
I actually thought about writing a book on, the best chicken parms, in the city.
Right.
I would just say chicken parm. It's like, it's a staple for me. I happen to eat it now like grilled as opposed to breaded and fried.
Not as fun.
Not as fun, but still great.
Of course.
You can put red sauce and cheese on anything.
Yeah. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given other than put red sauce and cheese on anything?
I kind of hate to say this, but don't trust anybody. And I'm obviously a business owner in New York. My father was a business owner in New York. The advice was from him, and you want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I do. But the reality is, you got to be very careful about, just in general, about who you kind of let in so many ways, not just in business, in life, right? So I think that you want to think that everybody is genuine and has good intentions, but if you think that way, you're probably going to get taken advantage of.
So it's a don't trust anybody at first. Somebody can win their way into your your
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of close friends and a lot of people that are clearly on the inner on the inner circle, but I would say initially, don't trust anybody.
All right. What is something that you're afraid of?
Pretty crazy, but I've always had a fear of random hypodermic needles.
Meaning that you're going to run into one, or
meaning that I'm gonna hop in a
step on one
taxi
in a random place?
or an Uber, and one's gonna be in the seat like intentionally, or walking through crowds, and
Someone's gonna stick you with one.
yeah, I've always like, I don't know why, but it's just, and people who know me really well like would know that. So
Are you consciously thinking about that? Like when you get into a cab or a car,
absolutely
are you like
not.
looking around on the seat?
Absolutely not. I'm not that weird. I'm weird, but not that weird.
What's a business idea that you once had and think can still work, whether or not you ever plan on doing anything about it? Because I know you're an idea guy.
I'm an idea guy. One of my guys yesterday called himself an idea guy, and I said, ideas are nothing without execution, and I'm an idea guy and an execution guy.
Great.
So this is interesting. I think you'll like this,
Mm-hmm.
and there's definitely a good chance of this happening. So don't steal it. So I've always wanted
The world is a witness right now.
Yeah. So you heard it here first.
You're good.
I've always wanted to write a children's book series, and my first book is going to be they're going to be, you're going to read them to your children in the melody of the song. So they're all going to be based on old school hip hop songs. So the first book is going to be about potty training to Paul Revere. Now, here's a little story I got to tell about 3 brown poopies, something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Fantastic. Two things I have to throw in here, though.
Okay.
One, about like 15 years ago, I wrote a children's book.
Really?
Yes. Not about that. But I just want to say, you didn't just co-opt the whole children's book idea. I already have one in the bank.
No
way.
I
didn't publish it. Like, I have it digitally.
Can you tell us about the children's
book?
It
was actually for a series, and even more coincidentally, I just talked about this the other day because the idea is actually out there now. The series idea was called Show Books, SHO Books, Superheroes of Books, and the idea was a way to teach kids about prominent figures of history, superheroes. The first book, the one that I actually wrote, was about Jackie Robinson, and it's for like 4-year-olds, like kids who are just like starting to read. Really nice big illustrations, and the idea was to just have this series of all these real life superheroes to teach kids about it. But I just found out last week, I forget what it's called, but it's like there's like a series out right now called Who Was, or like, and it's about Obama or Ben Franklin, just people in history. A very similar idea. The other thing I was going to say in terms of baby hip hop stuff is, I just bought a book, pre-ordered a book called something like A to Jay-Z.
Yes, I've seen that.
You saw that ad on Facebook?
Yes, they actually raised money through. Yeah, that's fine. They raised money through Kickstarter, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool, and look, we're hip hop heads, love it all. Primarily the old stuff. I don't know that I need to teach my kid about all the whole, the old hip hop artists. I think I would want him to have that knowledge, clearly, but I think my idea
more about life through the vehicle
potty
of
training or bullying,
yeah.
Through hip hop and rhymes and things of that nature. So don't steal that.
Great, I will not steal it. I will definitely gladly read those to my kids.
Awesome.
When your kids turn 40, how do you want them to finish the sentence? The most important thing my dad taught me was blank.
How to be a responsible part of society. It's super tough to parent, and you really hope that whatever you're doing will help them in the future. So I'd really like my kids to say my parents did absolutely everything to set me up successfully in life. And that means so many different things, but it's something as simple as if they have a knack for something, like making sure it's not overlooked. I feel like my parents didn't really go all in on my
marine biology.
No, just in general, it's like I feel like I want to be thoughtful and allow them to do what they want to do. Not be so concerned about, like, parents today just want to put their kids in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they like it or not.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that they're set up for success, and that they know that they can do anything, and encourage them.
If you had to move outside of North America permanently, where would you live?
That's tough because unfortunately I haven't traveled enough to answer that question well. So I don't want to say something generic based on my life experience. I'd need to, because living somewhere for the rest of my life is a pretty important decision.
Big decision for sure. But I would say that other people in response to this question have said places that they've never been. So there has to be some place that's more, I guess, curious to you. And is it somewhere that is more culturally driven, like Europe, or more like beach life, like Costa Rica or Hawaii? Hawaii is North America.
I know, and that's why my initial reaction was Hawaii, and then I realized that also. Right. By the way, and you know what? There's so many. I'm maybe I'm a little too analytical when it comes to a decision like that, because the reality is, like, where am I in my life? Is it today? Because if it's today, I can't go live on a beach. I'm nuts. Like, I need to be accomplishing as much as possible in a 24-hour
You need
period.
action, you need city, energy.
Nonstop.
Yeah.
So, I would need to be... If it's today, it's Europe. It's somewhere that I can do what I'm doing now. And, it'd be a big city like, I'd probably move to London or, something like that, which is similar but different and would enable me to grow.
Okay. Fair. If you could live the life of any fictional character, who would it be? Could be a movie, TV, cartoon.
I think I would have to say Robin Hood. I feel like people should not be entitled based on their good fortune on what vagina they came out of. Can I say that? I just did, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Of course.
I think it would be Robin Hood. I like kind of leveling the playing field, and giving opportunities to people that deserve them. I think everybody deserves every opportunity in the world. And people who are born fortunate have more opportunities typically, at least earlier in life, right? So that would be my answer, because I really think a lot of people are operating at a disadvantage, and I'd like to help them.
Great. What is something you regret?
I regret not traveling more. I mean, as a segue, I really regret. I mean, I lived well in my 20s, and focused on my future. At 25, I entered the real estate business. I said, if I'm going to promote nightclubs with Chris Heller any longer, I might end up, not making much of my life. And that's we had great times, but I feel like I was actually almost too concerned at such a young age about finding my lane. And what I mean by that is, I feel like I could have taken more productive risks between
just
20
trying
and
stuff.
Trying stuff, and not I mean, the person who succeeded just tried more, in a lot of ways. So I think, and it's also, I lost my mother at a young age and around that time, so it forced me to grow up quickly. So that's the reason for it. I'm aware of the reason for it, but I feel like, and I'm probably better off, in a lot of ways.
Run, right?
Yeah.
If you could work for any person in the world, who would it be, and what job would you want?
I am an entrepreneur, and at this stage of my life, I only want to work for myself.
Right.
And it's now, having said that, there are so many people that I'd love to work with and collaborate with and learn from, but but I don't want to work for anybody.
So give me one of those. Who would you want to collaborate with on your next big project?
I'm really into music and fashion, and people that are not concerned with what others think of them, so to speak, and just live outside the box. So people like Kanye West, people like Lady Gaga, really inspire me to be unique. Everybody has their own opinion of everybody, right? And if you ask 10 people what they think about Kanye, you ask 10 people what they think about Lady Gaga, you're gonna get 10 different answers. Mm-hmm. But I like people who just march to the beat of their own drum.
Who is your celebrity crush, if you have one?
I mean, the Blurred Lines chick is absolutely beautiful. Emily, I don't want to butcher her last name, but I don't know if you can get more good looking. So, I'm not one to really drool over celebrities, but you can't deny that she's a gorgeous woman.
When do you want to retire, and what does that look like? What's your vision of retirement, if there is one?
There isn't one. I'm as I stated earlier, I'm playing the long game. I have been in the real estate business now for 17 years, and I'm building my company, Sabre Real Estate, to really be the foundation for anything I do in the future. So, whether or not I'm involved in the day-to-day operations of this company in 25 years is yet to be determined, but I know that it's the real estate business is great because you can more or less do it from anywhere, right? So in the future, I definitely want to transition into real estate development, and that's a really patient game. So I think I'll do that forever for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Big music guy. What's the best concert that you've been to?
I'm a major Jack Johnson fan, so I went to 2 of his concerts over the summer, and there's not many artists that I'll travel for and make sure that I see numerous shows. Mm-hmm. So I would just have to say, not that he's the best performer, but he sounds very similar to obviously his records, and it's just such feel-good music, takes you out of the stresses of everyday life. So my wife and I, go to as many Jack Johnson shows as possible. So that would be my answer to that.
Who would play you in a movie about your life?
Well, it would have to be somebody that people say I resemble or resembles me. And
not necessarily.
Well, that's just what comes to mind.
Of course.
Yeah. So I would say I've always been told that people remind me of, or I remind them of, Scott Conn. Okay. Scotty Conn. I've actually been called that, many times.
Right.
And I get it. So it could be somebody like him. I've also heard Macklemore. So, and he's pretty cool. So I'm cool with either.
All right.
I've also heard Steve from 90210, but he's not playing me.
Ian Ziering?
Yeah.
Well, what's a piece of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
You know what? I mean, it goes back to what we spoke about already. Just be
try more stuff.
Try more. Live in the moment, and you know what? Actually, more specifically, don't worry so much about what your parents' idea of success is.
If you could travel back in time to one place or incident, what would it be and why?
It's easy. University of Arizona.
Just
at any point.
All of it?
And, clearly I mentioned I lost my mom, and she was alive when I was in college, so it checks all the boxes. But the University of Arizona was the best college experience that anybody can have, which is why my kids will not be going there.
Now that you have experience as a parent with your two boys, what is something that your parents or one of your parents did really well?
Encouraged the shit out of me. My mom in particular was instilled in me a tremendous amount of confidence, and that's carried through the rest of my life. Even with her gone, just knowing that I'm good enough to do anything that I put my mind to, which is interesting because I'm actually saying I need to do that as a parent,
Right.
and that's definitely it's helped me become the man that I am today, even though I lost her, when I was still a young man.
What is a quirk of yours that few people know about?
I'm very careful about what I touch with my hands. So in a lot of ways, I'm a germaphobe. So not to an extreme level, but if I can avoid shaking a person that doesn't look well groomed or clean, if I can avoid that, I'm going to. I'll Purell pretty frequently, and I typically have people open my mail for me.
You have a portable Purell bottle that you carry around?
Tons of them. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, if you have one of those people who you don't classify as well hygiene, do you go with a
fist bump?
Fist bump?
I do.
You try to do that?
Yeah. Right. Or avoid them at all costs.
I'm going to keep note the next time we see each other and say hi if I'm getting the hand or the fist.
No, you know what it is, though? Like, it's just strange to me that, like, you can meet somebody on the street out of nowhere and, like, they could just think that they have a good reason to approach you and shake your hand, and I just get kind of weirded out by that. Meaning, like, and it puts you in such a bad position, right? Because
Totally.
I'm not a rude person. I like everybody, and I wish that I didn't have such a problem with that. I don't know how celebrities do it, like walking through crowds at concerts, and I mean, I couldn't do it.
If you won the lottery tomorrow, what are 3 things that you would do with the money?
Buy real estate. 1.
Okay. Where? Something specific? Homes, malls, land?
I mean, I would develop real estate. I told you that's the transition that I want to evolve, into in my career over time. So I think that would just would push it a little earlier. So I would develop what I know, which is primarily retail and restaurant real estate. That's 1. I mean, I'd have to get some sort of toy just for the hell of it. Mm-hmm. So I would get a sports car of some sort. Mm-hmm. And I would buy my family whatever they want,
What is something that you're great at?
Dancing.
Splits, right?
Yeah, splits.
Dance battles, obviously.
I'm an amazing splitter.
Yeah.
I think emotional intelligence. I am really, really good at finding commonalities in anybody, and I can have the same conversation with somebody who's and early in my career I noticed how hard some people work and and don't get credit for it, meaning the janitor in one of my first jobs, I'd be in the office till midnight, 1-2 a.m. At times, and he would be the only person in the building, so it'd be him and I. And I enjoyed talking to him as much as I have enjoyed speaking with Steve Ells, the founder of Chipotle, mm-hmm. early in my career. And I think that's being able to just really enjoy getting to know people of all types and kinds, and understanding their what makes them tick. I think that I'm pretty good at that and able to get along with all types of people as a result, and manage people. It comes in handy, obviously, when you're managing a lot of people as well.
Who's your favorite MC of all time?
I mean, like rapper or MC? Are we distinguishing?
I assume the answer would be a rapper, but
okay.
But you take it any way you'd like.
Well, because MC to me is a hype man.
I was gonna say like a master of ceremonies.
Yeah.
Like
so if we're getting technical, I would say like you cannot. I'd have to say Diddy, and because the rapper's Biggie, and Biggie would have been nothing without Diddy, you know. So I would have to say, and I've always asked myself. I mean, I absolutely love Notorious B.I.G. You know, all of his stuff, just how he crossed over, which was Diddy's genius, right? But you know, the fact that he's been gone so long, there's such a mystery there that I think it keeps him, you know, in everybody's mind, at the forefront of everybody's mind. So I wonder where he'd be if he was alive today, and if he'd be my answer. You know?
Of course.
Yeah.
Right. He would have much more time to disappoint us.
There you go.
But looking back, it's easy to just
Well
say
said.
how good he was in a short time for him.
Yes.
Of course. What is something that you haven't done yet that you really still want to do?
So not a skill. Write a children's book.
Fly a plane.
Fly a plane. Write a children's book. You know, it would. I was in a band in high school. I, you know, have had different experiences rapping, writing lyrics, performing, and I would love to have the free time to actually dedicate it to you know, doing something musically and actually putting a group together of like-minded individuals like us, essentially, that, you know, have the same taste in music and the same history, background. And actually, you know, performing on like locally and doing gigs, and I could see that happening. I just need more time. Yeah.
One of the things remaining on my B40 list is to write and record 40 bars.
Okay,
So
I saw that.
Before the end of the year, there is a rhyme coming from your boy over here.
I love it.
What was the name of your band in high school, and what did you play?
I want to say that it was Blue Fuzzy Things. And Blue Fuzzy Things. And I was a singer. I didn't play anything. Really? So, yeah. So I've always had that kind of, you know, being like, you know, when I get on a stage, I think I black out.
You're a front man.
Shit,
you need
happens.
a mic.
I need a mic. Yeah, everyone knows if you put a mic in front of me, it's just all bets are off.
What's a pet peeve of yours besides shaking?
Yeah. What's a pet peeve of mine? Entitlement. You know, it's such a turn off to me. People who are not self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people who just expect to show up and, you know, mail it in, so to speak, and operate at, you know, 40-50% and get a Bentley tomorrow. That's a pet peeve of mine.
If you were hosting this podcast, what is a question that you would want to ask other 40-year-olds?
Are you satisfied with where you are at 40? Did you think that you'd be further along, or are you further than you would have expected you'd be?
Are you satisfied with your life at 40? Are you further along, or is this where you expect it to be?
I'm my own worst critic, so I would definitely say that I'm not as accomplished as I would want to be. If I actually, you know, remove myself and you know, take a 10,000 foot look at my life, I'm very, very satisfied, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface. And 40 is, in the grand scheme of things, pretty young.
Who is someone that should be a guest on this podcast?
Who is someone that should be a guest on this podcast? Do we know any, you know, any people that have accomplished some level of celebrity out of like the crew that, you know, we ran with, that would actually be open to it? You know, I think like when we were in the, you know, just in the nightlife scene, so many people have flourished, right? I mean, like Jason Strauss and Noah and you know, people like that have changed, invented bottle service,
right,
and operate the highest volume restaurants in the world.
Yep.
I think you should get them on.
All right, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
What is, as we get close to finishing up here, a call to action for other 40-year-olds? Like, what should everyone who's listening go and do or try ASAP?
I think anything that they want to, I think I'm an entrepreneur. I'm fortunate enough to have my own business and dictate my day, right? I have a lot of high maintenance people that work for me and people that I work for. So clearly I can't just do anything I want. I have to be extremely responsible and operate at a certain level. But I would think that a lot of people listening don't work for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I would think that it would be exciting for everybody to experience, even if it's on a very small scale, a passion project or something that they are in complete control of. I think 40 is the perfect time to start that. Perfect
time is now. So stop listening, go do it. Actually, you're going to stop listening anyway because we have not much more to say. The last question that is the same for everyone. You chose a song to end the episode and play us out of here, which everyone will hear in about a minute or so. What is the song you chose, and why is it the song you chose?
Yeah, so I love hip hop and I love rock. I love all genres of music, so it was easy for me. It's Jay-Z, Linkin Park. Could be any song essentially, but I chose Encore and I forget which song it is. And Numb.
Is that's like a mashup?
It's a mashup. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there could have been so many, but I just love what that did for music, and DJ AM. I think
he's the one who put that together.
I think he didn't put that together, but I think he inspired that movement.
The mashup, the rock hip hop mashup.
Yeah.
And Encore is a good way to end because that's how I usually end great things. So, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
This was a lot of fun.
Likewise,
I'm glad we did it in person. It's always fun to do in person. And where can people reach out or find you if they'd like?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Jason Siano with a Y, JaysonSiano. My website is Sabre, SABRE.life. And we have a YouTube channel. We have a weekly video blog that goes out on Fridays.
Which is filming right now.
It is.
We'll be on it. Your boy will be on it this week.
That's right.
Check it out.
Excited about that. So, yeah, you could always email me also for any ideas, opportunities. Always looking to meet people and figure out, what we could do next. So it's Siano, my last name, Siano at sabre.life.
If there's any children's book illustrators or people in the loop, get at them.
Yes, let's make that happen.
Thanks for being here. Another episode of Past the 40. Jay,
good work.
Great
brother.
To see you.
Great to see you.
I got the hand, guys. Everyone who's listening,
did.
I just got a hand, so my hygiene is up to par. Thanks all. See you next time.